न जानामि योगं जपं नैव पूजां नतोऽहं सदा सर्वदा शम्भुतुभ्यं जराजन्म दुःखोऽगतातप्यमानं प्रभो पाहि आपन्नमामीश शम्भो।
A warm welcome to all the devotees on Raksha Sutra English. We are going to narrate wonderful holy stories to all the devotees from the book Miracles of Love by Ramdas Ji, an exclusive devotee of Maharaj Ji. Please listen carefully, all the devotees. Purity of Darshans. In the winter of 1971, it started getting very crowded and Maharaj Ji began telling people to go to different places. I was told to go to Puri. He also said I could go and see Goenka, a well-known Buddhist meditation teacher. On the way back, I had been feeling that I really needed to learn something about meditation. So I went to Bodh Gaya and stayed there for 40 days. During that time my mind was exceedingly clear, like nothing I would ever experienced before. When I came back to Dada's house, Maharaj Ji was there. I don't know if I was experiencing my love for him in a new way or if my heart was closed. Maybe both, but all I was seeing was a man doing all these different things, and I felt none of that love connection I had felt before. There was a clearness and an openness, but none of that emotionality and warmth. I stayed there 2 or 3 days and kept waiting for the return of that feeling I would felt before, and I saw all these people opening in a way that I missed. I prayed to Maharaj Ji and it still didn't change. I decided I would go to the Sangam, holy place at the confluence of 3 sacred rivers. While I was there, I prayed that after bathing my heart would open again. And as I was bathing, I felt my heart open wide. I got out and everywhere I looked, everything was glowing. I got into a rickshaw to go back to Dada's house, and I realized that I had no prasad, and the route from the Sangam to Dada's doesn't go by any bazaars. We did pass a calendar wala vendor with those devotional calendar pictures. I looked at all the pictures, but they were so gauche. Just as I was giving up, I looked down at my feet, and there on the ground in the dust was a picture of Ram embracing Hanuman, which was so exquisite. I bought the picture and went on to Dada's house. I was late, so I didn't think there would be time for me to reach Maharaj Ji and present the prasad. But as I came through the door, a path opened up right to Maharaj Ji. I was so opened up from the meditation curse and the Sangam that I gave the prasad without my ego. It was the purest act I would ever done around Maharaj Ji. Something was taking place, but I was not doing it. I put the picture on the tucket and sat down. Maharaj Ji picked it up and looked at it. Tears started coming out of his eyes, and I started to cry too. Then he stood up and stormed out of the room, giving the picture to Dada. A few weeks later, this picture was up in the Vrindavan temple, right next to the Murti. The point of the story is that because I was able to do that selflessly, he was able to accept it fully. At other times, I came with all kinds of prasad and I would really want him to accept it in a certain way, and he would hardly look at it. I would polish up the apples for hours, hold them on the bus, say mantras over them. I was trying to be pure, but this time I wasn't trying to be pure. The purity was simply there. Touching his feet, I take the dust from the lotus feet of the Guru to cleanse the mirror of my mind. So begins a sacred ode to Hanuman. Touching, holding, rubbing the Guru's feet has always had profound significance in the Hindu tradition, for out of the Guru's feet comes the spiritual elixir, the soma, the nectar, the essence of the sacred Ganges river, the subtle pran or energy that heals and awakens. To touch the feet of such a being is not only to receive this grace, but it is an act of submission, of surrender to God, for that is what the Guru represents on earth. But for those of us around Maharaj Ji, the theories connected with the spiritual value of touching the Guru's feet had little, if anything, to do with the matter. Rather, it was the strangest pull of the heart. A mother who, with her husband, had come to India from the United States out of concern for the well-being of her son, who was deeply devoted to Maharaj Ji, stayed on for some time. At the conclusion of her visit, she reports the following. Then, as the time came that we had to return to the States, I began thinking about the last darshan I would have. I realized that I really wanted to touch Maharaj Ji's feet. I didn't know why I wanted to, but I did. I figured that if I went ahead and did it, it would upset my husband. But I thought, so it upsets him. It is still my decision. At my last darshan, I touched Maharaj Ji's feet. To my surprise, so did my husband. How vividly I recall after my first meeting with Maharaj Ji, how all my disdain and arrogance disappeared before an almost overwhelming desire literally to be at his feet. It was perhaps the second or third visit with Maharaj Ji when the opportunity presented itself. I was watching the man next to me. The expression on his face suggested that he was experiencing waves of rapture, and as I watched him out of the corner of my eye, I felt jealous. We sat next to each other, cross-legged before a large, heavy-chest, high wooden table. The man, the principal of a school in the vicinity, was probably in his late 50s. He was dressed in a heavy woolen suit with socks. His shoes had been left outside the door of the temple, a tie, a muffler, and in the fashion common to the men of the hill country in this late November, a woolen hat. Before us, sitting on the table cross-legged, was Maharaj Ji, well wrapped in a bright plaid blanket, so that only his head showed above the blanket, and a bare foot stuck out beneath. It was this foot that was the source of both the rapture and the jealousy, for the man was massaging the foot with great tenderness and love, and I was yearning to be in his place. How bizarre to find myself sitting in a tiny Hindu temple halfway around the world, jealous because I could not rub an old man's foot. As I reflected on this strange turn of events, Maharaj Ji talked now to one and now to another of the 20 or so people gathered in the small room at the back of the temple compound. He spoke in Hindi, which I did not understand, but he seemed to be asking one a question, scolding another, joking with a third, and giving instructions to a fourth. In the midst of these conversations, I saw him move ever so slightly, and his other foot appeared beneath the blanket just beside me. I suspected that only people who had been around him for some time were allowed to massage his feet, and I was the newest comer, but I decided I couldn't be faulted for trying. So slowly my hands bent up and touched the foot and began to massage. But instead of waves of bliss, my mind was full of the sharp edges of doubt and confusion as to whether I should use my fingers or my palms. Just as suddenly as the foot appeared, it was withdrawn back under the blanket. My mind was filled with self-recrimination about my own impurity. As the visit went on, Maharajji took me more and more out of my self-consciousness and into a space that had no familiar boundaries. I was experiencing waves of confusion bordering on hysteria, and that was the moment the foot reappeared before me, and again I reached for it, but this time my mind was too overwhelmed to analyze procedure. I just clung to the foot as a drowning man to a life preserver. Ramdas. There was one particular moment I remember in Kanchi. I was sitting in front of Maharajji's tucket, rubbing his feet for the longest time, wondering if I was pure enough to be doing this. Then I went beyond thoughts, going deeper and deeper into that love until there wasn't any concern about rubbing Maharajji's feet or even my love for Maharajji. I was just swimming in his feet. Sita would always sit on my right, and being a greedy, obnoxious Leo, I would push my way up front and grab Maharajji's foot. Sita would always want the same foot, so I would have a shoving match with her. She would say, "Get away from here, you don't belong here," and she would throw her shoulder down to block me. Sometimes Maharajji would give his foot to me and sometimes to her. I very rarely touched his feet because I felt he was too pure. What was it about the darshans that captured us? Was it the many levels and changes, or the moments of timelessness, or perhaps the intimacy and love? Or was it the talking and chiding and humor, or maybe the purity? Then of course perhaps it was the touching of the feet, or was it all of them, or none of them? Was the connection perhaps a subjective one beyond our dualistic experiencing? Maharajji, who are you? Are you other than our very selves? There is no answer. There is no question. Really, there is just darshan, which is grace. To listen the wonderful holy stories of Maharajji, please like, share, subscribe the channel, and don't forget to ring the bell icon. Write in the comment box. Jai Neem Karoli Babaji Maharaj.